Ravens flock. The flock rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. So I'm telling you now, it's about to go down. The podcast, the flock rundown. Ravens, baby. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Training camp is still in full swing. We got a preseason game on Saturday. The offense looked much better in practice yesterday. We had a couple guys return, a couple new position switch-ups. Let's get into it. David Ajabo and Patrick Ricard are back to practice, so great news there. Patrick Ricard was getting tried out at offensive line, which is surprising and not surprising once I heard it. You know, I think at first, and my initial response was like, what in the world? Does he have any role on the team left? Are they just trying to keep him as a roster spot? But then I heard John Harbaugh say this.
We're looking at that. You know, it's just a multiple role kind of thing. I mean, Pat's quite an athlete. You know, he can do a lot of different things. And maybe we expand his role just a little bit for a little bit of time here and see how he does. So we're going to look at that.
So here's my thoughts on this. I think that his role as a traditional fullback, especially in the Roman offense, is going to be drastically diminished. I'm not saying that they won't use him as a fullback. I still think we will keep some strong formations and keep him in the game, but I don't think he's going to have the same role as he's had in previous offenses at all. I think his role is very diminished, and they're trying him out at different spots. Offensive line, he's also had a ton of experience on the defensive line when he was first coming into the league. So they're going to move him around. They're going to see what works. I don't think it's going to stick at offensive line, but he could prove me wrong. Like Harbaugh said, he is an athlete. I just think that they're trying to make use of him since they are going to pay and keep him on this team most likely this year. So they're just trying to say, hey, where else can we play this guy to get the value that we're paying him? Because his traditional value is no longer needed really on this team in Todd Monken's offense and no longer needed around the NFL. I mean, you've seen the diminish of fullbacks. We were one of 2-3 teams that use fullbacks in general. So that tells you something right there, that the whole league has pivoted away from fullbacks, and we're slowly doing the same thing now. I think they'll end up finding a couple spots to plug him in that keeps him on this team, but his future's definitely not looking as bright as it used to be with the offensive change, and then that's just the nature of the business. But Ricard has done so many great things for this team and has been a staple in our run game. He's one of the best blockers we have. So I think they'll find ways to use him, but his role is definitely diminishing. And the fact that they're trying him out at various different positions confirms that, in my opinion. We had a little scare yesterday. Odell stopped practicing about halfway through and was seen stretching with the trainer, and all the reports were, we don't know what's going on. You know, it believes to be a minor injury, things like that. But Harbaugh in his press conference said Odell's purely just on a rep count just to keep him healthy for this season, and there is no injury. So great news there. Sigh of relief. Nothing to worry about. There were no new injuries yesterday, thank God. So we're staying pretty healthy. Rocky Ya-Sin's still out. We still got Bateman out. Still got J.K. Dobbins out, even though I know that that's not really an injury-related situation. Also, Geno Smith and Tyus Bowser still out on injuries, but nothing seems to be very serious. I would say Tyus Bowser, honestly, is concerning me the most when it comes to the injury situation. And speaking of Rashod Bateman, he was seen running on a side field, and the reports came out that he's running pretty well. So hopefully he's nearing full speed and close to a return. The fact that he's running during practice is a great sign. You know, we know he's going through rehab, but we've just been seeing him stand there and watch practice, which is also good. You know, you need the mental reps of what they're going through practice as well. You can condition on your own time. The fact that we're seeing him out there run on the field and look good is very exciting news, and I can't wait to add him back into this offense. I would imagine, honestly, in the next couple weeks, I think we see him in a limited role. He's going to also have a rep count and be taken very lightly. I don't think we'll see him in the preseason at all, but he's got to get a few practices in. There's no way they just let him play week one. So whether he shows up at all during training camp or not is just going to delay his time on the field to start the regular season. And whatever it takes, I'm cool with. Obviously, if he's not quite ready, I don't want to rush him back. But if he is full speed or nearing full speed, then in a week or two, whenever he is full speed, I'd like to see him practicing just so he can start by the regular season. Because if he skips all of training camp and is not practicing, he's not going to play in the regular season to start. So we need him back at practice at some point. I don't expect to see him in the preseason at all. Definitely don't risk it. Give him rest when needed, but we got to see him. They don't let anybody really play that's not practicing at all. So at some point, we're going to see Bateman, and I have to believe at some point we're going to see J.K. Dobbins, unless he's just sitting out for the regular season. But I wouldn't think that he'd be going through all the team meetings and all the film work and be at every practice and around the guys if he's not going to play this year. So he's going to play this year. I just don't know when he'll come back at practice, probably at the last possible opportunity that he can come back to practice. But that's more of a contract issue. Bateman's more of a health issue. Can't wait to get Rashod Bateman back. It's going to be so exciting to add him to this offense. And honestly, I'm just very curious to see where he's at. We have not seen Rashod Bateman post Liz Frank surgery, and that is a scary surgery. I'm not saying that he can't recover. He's very young and doesn't have a lot of tread on his tires. I feel like he can get back if he grinds the treatment right. But what Rashod Bateman are we getting? Are we getting the same Rashod Bateman? Is it a lesser version of what he used to be? Is it going to take him kind of a whole season to get back to form? But it is interesting. I don't know how he's going to look. I don't know how much he's going to be involved. If he's his old self, if he's the Rashod Bateman that we saw at the beginning of last year, he's going to be involved. I mean, this dude's just too talented not to be. Even with Odell and Zay Flowers and Aguilar and all the other weapons we have, he's going to be involved. But if he's a lesser version of himself or needs some time to get back, then he could find himself trying to climb the depth chart. I mean, Aguilar and Zay Flowers and Odell are consistently showing up in practice. That's a hard trio not to put on the field and not give time to. And then you got all the tight ends. There's a lot of weapons. So, I mean, Bateman's going to have to obviously come back and get up to speed and earn a role by his performance. So, I think he will. I'm not worried about it. I really believe in Rashod Bateman and his game. I'm just curious to see how he looks coming off that injury. I think we'll have a better idea of how quickly he can get back into the swing of things in this offense. Speaking of the offense, they had a way better day in practice yesterday. No interceptions, so I made the video yesterday recapping the weekend about how on Saturday they threw 9 interceptions and Lamar had 4 of them, but it was a 3rd and long drill. So today we did red zone drills and some other offensive work, and there were no picks the entire practice. So this is what I'm saying about up and down, right? It's just a roller coaster of practice. This is how it should be. The offense is learning. They're experimenting. And I think that's a great sign. No picks. Lamar looks sharp. Aguilar had another great day. He caught a touchdown in practice, and he just continues to impress practice after practice. You know, we hear about Zay Flowers and his explosiveness, but Aguilar's just showing up. He's just solid. He's just going to be involved. And I think he's got a real role in this offense as like a utility type guy. You know, he's going to be there. He's going to be consistent. He's been here all camp making plays. So very excited about this Aguilar signing. I think it's a very underrated signing. We were kind of flaming the signing at first, but that was before we ended up getting Odell and Zay. So obviously that was just the first little puzzle piece to this receiving room, and I think it's a great piece. Keaton Mitchell also had another touchdown and just continues to make plays. And the backs are really involved in this passing game. That's the thing that I wanted to point out and I keep seeing over and over again. We're going to use the running backs in our passing game more than we ever have in Lamar's career. We used to do a lot of checkdowns and use the running backs a lot more in the passing game when we had Flacco. But with Lamar, we were just trying to run a lot, and we didn't use the backs in the pass game. But now it looks like we're adding that element because practice after practice, I'm seeing these running backs catching passes. And that provides a whole nother element to the offense and a safety net for Lamar. You know, you don't always have to have the running back go out on a route. Sometimes they will. Sometimes they'll run a wheel route or go downfield and try to have a mismatch on a linebacker, especially a quick back like Keaton Mitchell or somebody explosive like J.K. Dobbins that can juke out a linebacker and get open. But also just as a check down, just as a safety blanket, if Lamar's under pressure and maybe there's not an opening for Lamar to take off, you can just chuck that down to that running back. It's hard to cover everybody, you know? So if everyone's going downfield and the tight ends are covered, the receivers are covered, Lamar doesn't have a lot of room to take off, and the back splits out for a check down, most likely that's open. Or if that is covered, then most likely Lamar has an avenue to run, or the tight end's coming across the middle wide open. I mean, you can't cover everybody. So I just think it creates more options. It creates more safety nets. And if Lamar's under pressure, nice check down, doesn't hurt anybody, especially when the running back just has to make one guy miss and we could go get 10 yards or something. I think that's something that's been needed in our offense, and I just am very excited to hear that Todd Monken has our backs running a lot of passing routes and being involved in the passing game, because I think that will just elevate the entire system. Our defensive backs coach, Denard Wilson, hit the podium yesterday and was talking about Marlon Humphrey, and he said that he's trying to be the best cornerback in the game.
Marlon isn't comfortable where he's at. You understand what I'm saying? And players, when they get comfortable, they kind of fall to the wayside. Since I've been here, Marlon has been a sponge. He asks a lot of questions. You know, he'll revert back to some of the players I've coached in the past and how did they do this? So he's trying to incorporate everything in his game. Marlon wants to be the best in the business, and he's working every day to try to get there. And he has high goals for himself, and so do we for him.
Now, Marlon's been up there. I'd say top 5 comfortably, but he's always been in that 4th, 5th, 6th cornerback ranking guy. Sometimes he doesn't even make people's rankings list, but I disagree. I definitely think he's top 5. Can really do everything you need as a corner. He's an incredible athlete. I would say his ball hawking skills, going up and high pointing the ball and catching the ball, is his biggest weakness for sure. But as a cornerback, he can play outside. He can play slot. He's an incredible cover corner. He can follow the receiver. He's physical with the receiver. He's fast. He has everything you need. So what is he missing to get him to be the number 1 corner in the league, you know? And I just love that mindset that he's still working and nitpicking his game and watching film constantly to try and become better, because you always have to be better. There's always someone trying to replace you. I just love that mentality, and that's a big reason he's at where he's at now, is because of that mentality. Just always trying to be the best, and all the greatest players think like that. Now, do I think he can become the number 1 corner in the league? I think he could play like it. I think he could. I think he can be the number 1 corner in the league. I just don't know if people are going to give him credit for it. I think you would have to have like insane stats to back it up. And a lot of people don't throw his way. When they're playing us, they target the other guys that aren't Marlon Humphrey. So he ends up not having a ton of stats. And like I said, he's also not the greatest ball hawk. Now, he'll go in and punch that thing out, but he can't go up and high point the ball and beat the receiver and out-jump the receiver and get it. So I definitely think he could work on getting more interceptions, and then he may get the credit as being the number 1 corner in the league. But I definitely think he could play like it. I think if you look and watch each play after play after play and tell me who's covering their guy better than Marlon Humphrey, it's hard to find guys that are covering their guy as good as he does. So I definitely think he can get there. I don't know if he'll get the recognition. That's going to come with the interceptions and the stats behind it. So he's going to have a lot of balls kind of thrown his way to be able to make those plays, because usually he just shuts his guy down and they go elsewhere. They'll throw whoever Rock Ya-Sin's covering or somebody in the middle or something. But I just wanted to point that out because I love his mentality. I love that he's trying to be the best in the league, and I really wouldn't want to hear anything else from a guy like that. He's an elite player. We have elite players on this defense. I think our defense is going to be a top 3 unit this year, along with a much improved offense that's also going to be explosive. So good times are ahead. Preseason game is this Saturday. I can't wait. Ravens football is finally here. Training camp's been fun, but there's nothing like real football in the game. So we'll get to see what the depth guys look like and who's making a name for themselves. So it'll be really exciting. And just appreciate you guys tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you guys next time.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.